Is a cell tower going up in your neighborhood? If it's not now, it may soon. Wireless carriers are installing millions of them across the country to enable the new, faster 5G cell phone technology. But tonight, Julie Watts asked the question you're not supposed to ask. Are there legitimate health concerns?
A group of scientists, doctors, environmental organizers, and concerned citizens got together and they called for the urgent stop to the deployment of 5G. They said that it's been proven harmful to human bodies, that this is an experiment on humanity, and that this should be called a crime under international law.
If 4G is already doing some of this, how much more potentially dangerous will 5G be, and why?
Well, here's what's really dangerous about 5G. I mean, it's being sold to us as super awesome, but the downside is that with this rollout, it will be impossible to exist in a city or to walk outside without being exposed. There's going to be a cell tower in front of every few houses, and this means that your personal choices, whether or not you personally use a cell phone or hold it 10 inches away from your head, that cannot escape you from your radiation exposure. And the fact is, the government is completely not jumping on the ball. I mean, because of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which says that no state or local government can regulate the placement of any cell towers, regardless of environmental effects.
Right.
That has really laid the groundwork for this toxic infrastructure.
Kelly Prime's son Kyle was just 10 years old when he was diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2016. 5 months later, Kyle's friend and classmate Mason Ferrulli developed brain cancer.
14 hours to get the tumor out, and he had 5 weeks of inpatient rehabilitation. He had to learn to walk, talk, eat, everything all over again.
2 more kids at the school were diagnosed this year.
At what point are you saying, we ought to take a close look at the school here?
The moment that I found out that Mason had been diagnosed.
Whenever you hear of cases of cancer in a child, obviously that itself is alarming. When there's several cases in one school, that's even more alarming.
Do you believe the oncologists who say cell towers can't cause cancer?
I believe that everybody wants to believe our government. I've looked into his eyes and I've looked at the fear that he has as a 9-year-old facing something, asking me, Mom, am I gonna die? It would push you to fight as well. It would push any parent to fight. I won't stop until it's done, until that thing is gone.
Our alert tonight, the more we rely on smartphones, the more data we want and the more antennas we need. But at what cost? Workers say they're getting injured working on those antennas, and the constant push for more towers is putting them at risk.
Yeah, there are 600,000 cell phone tower sites in the United States. They're everywhere, on the sides of buildings, streetlights, water tanks. But Team 10 learned thousands of those towers violate federal rules that are supposed to keep workers safe.
It hurts like how.
Benjamin Rivas has worked on cell phone towers for 14 years.
I was dealing with them day in and day out.
He quit after an antenna that should have been powered down was still live.
Physically burned my hand.
The burn is a work injury you can see.
You get burned on the outside, but internally it blisters.
Other problems he said caused by the towers aren't as easy to spot.
Depression, and I get headaches from time to time, and mood swings and stuff.
Rivas is one of 250,000 workers a year. An insurance rating agency said gets too close to these antennas. They act as an open microwave and can cause eye damage, sterility, and cognitive damages. Drew Fountain has a $20,000 meter that measures the RF frequencies. An RF frequency over 20% can injure people. Over 100% can burn someone.
In 2004, the International Association of Firefighters, the largest union of first responders in North America, passed a resolution banning cell towers from firehouses until more research is done, because firefighters living at stations with cell towers were becoming sick. Their position states, whereas the brain is the first organ to be affected by RF radiation and symptoms manifest in a multitude of neurological conditions, including migraines, extreme fatigue, disorientation, slowed reaction time, vertigo, vital memory loss, and attention deficit amidst life-threatening emergencies. And whereas most of the firefighters who are experiencing symptoms can attribute them to the onset of the first week these tower antennas were activated. So what was happening was in California, where firefighters had cell towers located at or near their stations, they were getting sick. So the fire union stepped in and said, let's do a study. So they investigated where were the firefighters getting sick. They were getting sick at stations where the firefighters were living. Whereas RF radiation is emitted by these cellular antennas, and RF radiation can penetrate every living cell, including plants, animals, and humans. And whereas both the U.S. and Canadian governments established regulatory limits for RF radiation based on thermal measurements, not non-thermal, which is what we're talking about. So what the union said was, we don't want the cell towers at our stations. And we submit, if they're not the appropriate place for fire stations, then they certainly aren't the appropriate place for our schools, our neighborhoods, our playgrounds, and our parks. Please change your ordinance, make it more responsible.
Barry Trower is an expert in the technology and has been for a long, long time.
Joined the Royal Navy in 1960, and I specialised in microwave warfare. Radar, obviously, which uses microwave, but they don't just teach you radar, they teach you all about microwaves and other uses. So I understood about microwave warfare and how it can damage people, how it can harm people. And when I finished with the Royal Navy, I was also a diver in the Royal Navy. And microwaves are used in underwater mines as booby traps. Which actually got me interested, because I was actually taking a bomb to pieces underwater, and it was too complicated. And I brought it to the surface, and my partner that was on the surface said, "Don't be an idiot, take it back down." He said, if somebody's beaming you with microwaves, they'll go right through you, and as you open the casing, trigger a photoelectric cell, and it'll blow all of us up. And he said, if it doesn't go through to the bomb, it'll aim it at your head and make you make a mistake. And that's really got me interested from that point, because I thought, well, how can microwaves going into your brain make you make a mistake? And I asked a lot of questions. I have a very curious brain. A small part of my job was to question captured agents, spies, terrorists, because microwaves then were used as weapons, as they are today. It is a perfect stealth weapon. And when governments don't like a group of people, for instance, the ladies who protest at Greenham Common in England about the American missile base they camped, they were microwaved. We microwaved Catholics in Northern Ireland to make them sick. It goes on all over the world. And it's a weapon that you don't know you're being targeted, because the dose is very, very low, which is actually more dangerous than a high dose. It's very, very low, and it may take a year or two, but you can cause neurological damage and cancers with low-level microwaves, and you can make all your opponents sick. It's a perfect weapon for a government. When I left there, I took a job teaching, and I taught advanced level physics, and I specialized in nuclear and atomic radiation, and again microwaves. Wi-Fi, I think anyone who puts Wi-Fi into a school should be locked up for the rest of their life. I really do. I think they're not fit to walk on the surface of this planet, because they haven't looked at the research, and whatever incentive they have, it is not worth the genetic problems that parents are going to face with their children when they're born. And if you think of a single parent, a mother, who has a genetically deformed child, that particular mother will feel guilty because she gave birth. She will feel guilty, and she will be worried every single second of every single day for her life. She will worry that the child won't marry. If the child can marry, she'll worry that the children will carry the disease, which they will. She will worry when she dies who will take care of them. So you are condemning both the family and the children to a lifetime of absolute hell. And this is already published. It is available to look up. It's what I call intentional ignorance.